I couldn't tell you the exact moment things started to shift. That's the funny thing about slow change, it creeps in like dust in the corners. You only notice when the sunlight hits it just right. Emily and I had been married for 9 years. No kids. No big drama. We had a rhythm. Work, dinner, a little Netflix, occasional sex, groceries on Saturday. It wasn't exciting, but I never thought it was supposed to be. I worked as a project manager at a small logistics firm. Emily taught 2nd grade. She used to come home with glitter in her hair, stories about the shy kid who finally spoke, or the one who peed his pants during story time. She had this light about her. Even when she was tired. Lately, though, I don't know. She was quieter. Not sad. Just distracted. She used to complain about her coworkers constantly, now she barely mentioned them. Her phone stayed glued to her hand, but she wasn't sharing memes or TikToks like she used to. Just scrolling, smiling to herself, then quickly locking the screen when I looked over. At first, I brushed it off. Figured she was tired. Teachers have it rough. But then she started wearing makeup to work again. Not just mascara. Full face. Like she used to in our early years. New clothes, too, stuff that didn't look like teacher gear. Tighter jeans. Heels. A new red coat I'd never seen before, soft as velvet. Expensive. I asked about it once. She said it was on sale. She never used to buy red. There was this one night, a Tuesday, I think. I was sitting on the couch, flipping through sports highlights. She came out of the bathroom in a towel, smelling like some kind of citrus perfume. I said, "You smell different." She froze for half a second, then laughed. Said she was just trying something new. I remember that moment now like a snapshot. The way she looked at me, cautious. Not afraid, but measuring me. Like she was waiting to see if I'd put something together. But I didn't. Not yet. The first real crack came 2 weeks later. I got home from work early, traffic was light, and I skipped the gym. Emily wasn't home. Not unusual, except her car was in the driveway. I figured she might be upstairs. Called out. No answer. I found her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. That was weird. Emily never left her phone unattended. Ever. I know I shouldn't have looked, but something was off. I had this pulse in my neck, this quiet thunder in my chest. Her phone lit up again, a message preview. Just a name, Z. No last name. Just Z. The message said, "Still thinking about last night. You wore that dress just for me, didn't you?" I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. I didn't open the message. I just backed away, hands cold. I stood there in my own kitchen, listening to the hum of the fridge and trying to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe I was being paranoid. I didn't confront her. Instead, I pretended I hadn't seen it. Told myself I needed more proof. That I was just imagining things. That night, she said she'd been at school late grading papers. I nodded like I believed her. But something had shifted inside me. I started paying attention. And once you start looking for cracks, you see them everywhere. 2 days after the message, I noticed a receipt on the floor of her car when I went to fill it up for her. I almost didn't see it, it had slid halfway under the passenger seat. It was from Marriott downtown, 2 nights ago. Room service for 2. A bottle of wine. A steak. And something called a decadence dessert sampler. She'd told me she had a staff meeting that night. The receipt was folded neatly, like it had been kept. Saved, even. My chest tightened as I slipped it into my coat pocket. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Not yet. I was trying to piece together something I didn't want to believe. And I still loved her, God help me, I did. The following weekend, she said she was going to a curriculum conference. Overnight. Out of town. She packed lightly, just a tote bag and that new red coat. She left Friday morning, kissing me quickly like she was late. I waited until she was gone, then went into the closet. I wasn't sure what I was even looking for. Maybe I thought I'd find condoms or lingerie or some note, something dramatic. But it was all ordinary. Except for the jacket. A man's jacket. Stuffed behind a stack of winter sweaters in the corner. It smelled like cologne I didn't recognize, musky and sharp. Nothing I wore. I checked the label. Expensive. Not the kind of thing you forget. I didn't know what to do with it. I took a picture, then put it back. Carefully. Like I didn't want to disturb its place in the lie. She came back from the conference Sunday afternoon. Her makeup was perfect. Her skin smelled like hotel soap. She didn't even look tired. That night, I lay in bed next to her and stared at the ceiling, wondering how long this had been happening. Wondering if I'd missed the signs because I didn't want to see them, or because she was that good. I still hadn't said anything. I don't know what I was waiting for. Maybe I wanted her to confess. Maybe I wanted to catch her in the act. Maybe I was just scared of what would happen when the truth hit the light. The next morning, I accidentally took her phone instead of mine when we both left for work. It buzzed in my jacket pocket around 9:40 a.m. The name was there again. Z, this time the message was clearer. Can't stop thinking about how you looked this weekend. Call me after school, even just to hear your voice. I sat in my car, outside my office building, staring at the message like it had teeth. Z. Whoever he wasn't a fling. He wasn't just sex. He was something more. I felt sick. But I still didn't reply. I powered the phone off and drove back home. Switched it out where I'd taken it. She never noticed. Later that night, she smiled at me over dinner. Talked about her day like nothing had changed. But everything had. That night, I opened my laptop. Made a folder. I titled it Things That Don't Fit. Inside I dropped the photo of the jacket. A screenshot of the Marriott receipt. A photo of the messages from Z. I didn't know what I was building yet. But I knew where it was heading. And I knew it was going to break something. Badly. I didn't sleep much after that. I kept hearing his voice in my head. Z, who the hell was Z? The way he wrote her, it wasn't casual. It wasn't flirtation. It was possession. Like he believed he owned some part of her. Maybe he did. The next morning, I watched her get dressed. She was wearing one of those new blouses. A soft beige thing that clung to her in places she used to cover. She didn't look like a teacher. She looked like a woman on her way to a date. Her makeup was heavier, too. A darker lipstick. I don't know when that started. I must have missed it while I was busy being, whatever I've been. Distracted. Predictable. She kissed my cheek on the way out and said, "Don't forget to pick up milk." And then she was gone. Just like that. I stood in the kitchen, the air still warm with her perfume. It wasn't the kind she used to wear. Not the floral one I bought her for our 5th anniversary. This was spicier. Sexier. Not for me. I went back to the folder. Started listing things. Dates. Times. Receipts. Messages. I felt like I was building a case against someone I didn't want to prosecute. But I couldn't stop. I had to know. That afternoon, I drove to the Marriott. Didn't even know what I was hoping for. Maybe nothing. Maybe too much. The woman at the front desk was polite until I asked about the room on the receipt. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't give out guest information." I nodded. I didn't argue. Just handed her a $20, folded under the receipt. I'm not asking for names, I said. Just tell me if this room was booked by a woman named Emily. Blonde, about 5'6", red coat. She looked at me a long time. Then, quietly, she said, that room was paid for in cash. By a man? I asked. She didn't answer. But the way she didn't answer was all I needed. I left without saying anything else. That night, I found a strange key in the junk drawer. Not ours. Not her school keys. Not to her car. A small silver key with a green plastic cover. Looked like a gym locker key, maybe. Or a P.O. box. I turned it over in my hand for 20 minutes, then dropped it into the folder. Things that don't fit. She came home late that night. Said the staff meeting ran long. I nodded. I didn't ask. I was afraid of how easily she lied now, like it was nothing. Like she could just pour lies out of her mouth and go rinse her face before bed. When I joined her upstairs, she was already in bed, phone face down on the nightstand. The red coat was hanging on the back of the chair. I picked it up. And there it was. Another receipt. Crumpled in the pocket. From a boutique on Madison Avenue. Not far from the hotel. Lingerie. 2 items. One listed as sheer V-set, the other as midnight robe. I wanted to throw up. That's when the anger came. Not the kind that explodes. The kind that coils inside your ribs and waits. I went to the bathroom. Closed the door. Sat on the edge of the tub. It wasn't about the lingerie. Not really. It was the knowledge that she bought it for him. Wore it for him. Not me. I couldn't remember the last time she wore anything like that for me. But I could imagine it. Too clearly. Him sitting on the bed. Her walking out in that robe. That new perfume thick in the air. Her smiling the way she used to only smile at me. And that key. That goddamn key. I didn't know what it opened. But it opened something. A place. A box. A world I wasn't part of. The next morning, she got a text while she was in the shower. I had already memorized her passcode. I didn't want to know it. I just knew it. The message was from a number saved as Jenna. But no woman texts another woman, can't wait to see that thing you promised me. I opened the thread. All of them were from Jenna. But they read like something else. No one says you drive me insane, wear the red one tonight to their girlfriends. No one says was he home last night? My stomach dropped. That's when I knew. She had saved him under a fake name. She knew it was wrong. She knew. I heard the water stop. Her feet padding across the floor. I locked the phone, set it back exactly where I'd found it, and walked into the hall like nothing had happened. She came out wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping. She smiled at me like she always had. Like I didn't already know. There's this moment, right before you fall asleep, when your brain lets go just for a second and your guard drops. That's when the worst thoughts come. They started coming every night. How many times? Where? When did it start? Did she love him? I'd lie next to her and watch her breathe. Wonder if she was dreaming about him. Or if he'd already visited her dreams and left before I could wake her. She curled into me once that week. Middle of the night. Maybe out of habit. Maybe guilt. I stayed still, stiff as wood. Her leg brushed mine. I felt nothing. Not warmth. Not comfort. Just pressure. Weight. Her hand rested on my chest, but it felt like it belonged to someone else. Or maybe I didn't feel like myself anymore. The truth was starting to rot me from the inside out. I started avoiding her. Not in obvious ways. Just little things. Leaving earlier for work. Staying later. Claiming traffic. Or errands. I didn't want to look at her face anymore. Not because it made me angry, but because it made me sad. Deeply, hollowly sad. I missed her. But she was still there. And that was the cruelest part of it. That Friday, I pretended to have a late meeting. I parked 2 blocks from the school and waited. At 4:11 p.m., she walked out the front entrance with a man I'd never seen before. Tall. Dark coat. Confident walk. He wasn't touching her, but his body language said everything. They were close. Closer than colleagues. Closer than friends. She was laughing. That's what gutted me. Not the betrayal. Not the secrecy. The way she laughed with him. I used to be the reason she laughed like that. They walked down the sidewalk and turned the corner. I didn't follow. I just sat there, staring at the empty space they'd left behind, wondering what part of me she'd buried when she started loving someone else. Saturday morning, she brought me coffee in bed. Felt like spoiling you, she said, smiling. She hadn't done that in years. I thanked her. Took a sip. Burned my tongue. Didn't say a word. There was lipstick on the rim of the mug. The same dark shade from that night she attended the conference. Maybe she wore it for me once. Maybe not. I stared at the mark as she got dressed, humming to herself. The sound of her happiness had become unbearable. That afternoon, I checked her drawer while she was out. The lingerie was gone. The new robe. The matching set. Gone. Like they'd never been bought at all. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. She was just removing it. Washing the evidence away. That night, I had a dream. We were in our old apartment, the first one. The one with the tiny balcony and the peeling paint in the kitchen. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, holding takeout chopsticks, smiling at me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. I reached out to touch her face, and my hand went straight through. She vanished like smoke. I woke up gasping. Sweating. The bed beside me was empty. I thought she'd left. I got up, heart racing, ready to face the silence. Then I heard the toilet flush. She came out a minute later, sleepy-eyed, hair tangled. You okay? She whispered, crawling back into bed. I nodded. Lied. Again. Just a bad dream. She kissed my shoulder and turned over. I stared at the ceiling. The ghost wasn't in the dream. It was in our bed. I didn't plan it. There was no grand strategy. No speech. No dramatic reveal. It just happened. I came home early. Again. I don't know why. Maybe I hoped I'd catch something. Maybe I hoped I wouldn't. Emily wasn't there. But her purse was on the table. Her coat draped over the chair. Her shoes by the door. I called out. No answer. That's when I heard the shower. The bathroom door was open just a crack, steam curling into the hallway. I stood there, frozen. Watching her silhouette through the fogged glass. And I thought, how many times have I watched her like this? How many times has he? I wanted to be sick. But I didn't move. When the water shut off, I stepped back. Walked downstairs. Sat on the edge of the couch, palms sweating. She came down 10 minutes later. Hair wrapped in a towel, wearing a robe I'd never seen before. Light pink. Silky. Shorter than she ever wore for me. She froze when she saw me. Oh, hey. I didn't hear you come in. I nodded. My mouth was dry. She looked at me, waiting. Then she smiled. Too quick. You okay? I didn't answer. Just stared at her. Something shifted in her face. Slight. Like she knew. I reached into the drawer next to the couch and pulled out the folder. The one I'd labeled things that don't fit. I set it on the table in front of me. She didn't move. I think we should talk, I said, my voice lower than I'd ever heard it. She hesitated. Then sat across from me. I opened the folder. First the photo of the jacket. Then the boutique receipt. Then the screenshot of the messages from Jenna. Then the hotel receipt. Then the key. She didn't touch anything. Just stared. I waited. She looked tired. Finally, she said, "You went through my phone. That's what you got from this?" Her lips tightened. "You invaded my privacy." I laughed. It came out bitter and hollow. Right. Because that's the problem. Silence. Then she whispered, "How long have you known?" "Long enough." Another pause. The air between us was sharp now. Like broken glass. "Is it still going on?" I asked. She didn't answer. So I asked again, slower this time. "Are you still seeing him?" She closed her eyes. Yes. That word, yes, it broke something in me. Quietly. No explosion. Just a quiet tearing. Like a rope giving way after too much weight. I nodded. And for a second, we just sat there. Two people who used to be in love. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. I hated that line. I really did. It was the kind of thing people said to make betrayal sound accidental. Like she tripped and fell into someone else's bed. "He made me feel," she started, but stopped herself. I held up a hand. "Don't. Just don't." She looked down. I watched her chest rise and fall, slow and uneven. "I didn't go looking for it," she said. "I just felt like I didn't matter anymore. Like I disappeared." That part? That part hurt. Because she wasn't wrong. I had been distant. Distracted. Always thinking about work, money, the next thing. I'd stopped noticing her hair. Her perfume. Her stories. I didn't remember the last time I told her she was beautiful without her asking for it with her eyes. But I also didn't cheat. "I wish you'd just told me," I said. She didn't answer. Because she had. In her own way. 100 different ways. And I didn't hear it. Or maybe I didn't want to. I stood up. "I need air." She didn't follow me. I walked until the sun dipped behind the rooftops. Didn't check my phone. Didn't think about what came next. There's something surreal about knowing your marriage has died but the person is still alive. Still breathing in the same house. Still leaving their toothbrush next to yours. I came home to find her in the same spot. She looked up when I walked in. "Do you want to know his name?" she asked. "No." "Do you want me to end it?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. But I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to share her. I didn't want to be the background noise to someone else's fantasy. And I sure as hell didn't want to be the fool in my own house. "I'm sleeping in the guest room," I said. She nodded. And that was it. Not a fight. Not a scream. Just silence. And two people who now knew everything. The guest room smelled like dust. That kind of musty linen scent you get when you haven't used a space in a long time. The bed was too soft, the blankets too thin. I lay on top of the covers, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling fan spin above me. It was the first time in nearly a decade I'd gone to bed without Emily beside me. And the silence felt like a punishment. I didn't sleep. Just drifted. Somewhere between memory and ache. Her laugh, her voice, the smell of her hair after a shower, they looped through my head like a reel I couldn't stop. I kept thinking about how easy it must have been for him. He got the best version of her. The part one hadn't seen in years. The playful, flirtatious, soft version. I got the tired side. The part worn down by bills and dishes and silence. And the worst part? She chose him. She chose to give that part of herself away. And kept giving it even after I knew. The next morning, I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table like a ghost. She came down the stairs slowly, eyes puffy, hair pulled back in a messy knot. She didn't say anything at first. Just moved around the kitchen like she was floating. Avoiding eye contact. Avoiding everything. Then, she finally spoke. I called out today. I nodded. Didn't ask why. She sat across from me. Folded her hands. Looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I just hadn't looked in a long time. I'm sorry, she said. I stared into my mug. You've already said that. I know. But I wanted to say it again. In the daylight. We sat in silence. She reached across the table. Her fingers brushed mine. I pulled my hand back. She flinched. Looked down. I couldn't even pretend anymore. You're still seeing him, aren't you? I asked. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The silence was thick with truth. That night, I sat in my car in the parking lot of a bar I used to go to before we got married. I didn't go inside. Just watched the rain hit the windshield. Thought about calling someone. Anyone. My brother. My old roommate. But what would I say? Hey man, remember Emily? Yeah, turns out she was screwing some guy behind my back while I was out buying us groceries. No. I didn't want pity. I didn't want advice. I just wanted to not feel like a stranger in my own life. On Wednesday, she stayed late at school. Said there was a parent-teacher meeting. But she came home wearing lipstick she didn't leave the house in. And her hair was different. Like someone had touched it. Like fingers had been there. I didn't ask. Just nodded as she came through the door. Pretended to be asleep when she climbed into bed next to me in the guest room, uninvited. She didn't try to touch me. I think she knew I wasn't asleep. We just lay there, backs turned, inches apart but miles away. The next evening, I came home and found the red coat on the banister again. Only this time, I recognized the smell before I even reached the steps. His cologne. It was faint, but it was there. Sharp. Musky. New. I picked it up. Held it to my nose. It didn't smell like my wife anymore. And that was when it hit me. He'd been here. In my house. Not just in her head. Not just in her texts. But in our kitchen. Our bathroom. Maybe even our bed. There are certain things you can't unimagine. And I imagined all of them. Later that night, I asked her. I had to. Did you bring him here? She froze at the sink. Then slowly, painfully, nodded. I felt a tightness in my chest. A burning. Like shame and anger and heartbreak all collided in one small space behind my ribs. I wanted to scream. Break something. Leave. But I didn't. Instead, I whispered, why? She looked at me. And for the first time, I saw her break. Her voice cracked. Because I didn't think you'd notice. She wasn't trying to be cruel. But she didn't need to. That sentence crushed me in a way no shouting match ever could. The next morning, I packed a bag. Not everything. Just enough to leave. She was still in bed when I left. Or pretending to be. I didn't leave a note. There wasn't anything left to say. I drove for hours. No destination. Just away. Away from the house. The kitchen. The ghost of her smile. The scent of him on her skin. The echo of betrayal in the walls. At some point, I pulled into a roadside motel and checked in under a fake name. Slept like a man in exile. When I woke up, I stared at the ceiling for a long time. Then I turned on my phone. 6 missed calls. 2 texts. One from Emily, "Please come home. I'm ending it. I want to fix this." Another, "He's gone. For good." And there it was. The choice. I didn't drive home right away. I just stared at her message. He's gone. For good. I wish it had made me feel something. Relief. Satisfaction. Maybe even hope. But it didn't. It just made me tired. I spent the morning sitting on a bench outside a gas station off I-81. Watching people come and go. Everyone busy. Everyone with somewhere to be. I felt invisible. Like a background extra in someone else's movie. My phone buzzed again around noon. "Emily. Please talk to me." I turned the screen off. And just sat there. Still. That evening, I drove back. Not to forgive. Not to forget. But because some things need to be finished in person. She was sitting on the couch when I walked in. Same spot she always sat in. Legs tucked under her. Her face pale. Her eyes red. The silence between us was huge. Then she whispered, "Thank you for coming." I didn't answer. I walked past her. Upstairs. Into the bedroom. Our bedroom. There was a framed photo of us on the dresser, a beach trip, 6 years ago. I looked at it like it belonged to someone else. Then I opened the closet and started packing. That's when she followed me. "I ended it," she said. I told him it was over. That I chose you. I paused. Too late. She looked like I'd slapped her. "What do you mean?" I turned, slowly. "You didn't choose me. You replaced me. Then you used me as a backup plan." Her lips trembled. "That's not true." But we both knew it was. "You didn't come back to me because of love, Emily," I said. "You came back because he left." She said nothing. And that silence? That told me everything. Over the next hour, I packed what I needed. Some clothes. My laptop. A few books. She sat on the bed the whole time, watching. Crying. Not saying a word. Right before I left, she stood up. "Can we at least talk? Try? Maybe therapy?" I turned at the door. "You already did what couldn't be undone. You just hoped I'd never find out." She stepped closer. "I know I broke us. But I love you." I believe she meant it. In her own way. But sometimes love isn't enough. Not after you've set fire to it. "I'm not angry anymore," I told her. "I'm just done." I left the house at 9:42 p.m., didn't look back. Didn't cry. Just drove. Not toward anything specific. Just away. The first night in my new apartment was quiet. No footsteps. No second toothbrush. No perfume in the bathroom. Just me and the echo of choices. People think betrayal is loud. Explosive. It's not. It's quiet. It's walking past someone who used to know your soul and realizing they're now a stranger with your secrets. It's the sound of a closet door closing on a part of your life you can't get back. I don't hate her. I wish I did. It would be easier. But all I feel now is this ache where something used to live. Love? Maybe. Maybe just the habit of it. Weeks passed. Then months. I didn't block her. But I didn't reply either. She sent messages sometimes. Birthdays. Holidays. Anniversaries. Always simple. Hope you're well. Thinking of you. I never responded. Some things lose the right to be answered. The last time I saw her, it was by accident. A grocery store. She was in the produce aisle. Laughing with someone. Not him. Not me. Just someone else. She didn't see me. And I didn't approach. I walked out without buying anything. Drove home. Sat in the dark. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just let the memory of her go, one breath at a time. They say betrayal teaches you who someone really is. But I think it teaches you who you are. Turns out, I'm someone who can forgive. But not forget. Not stay. Not rebuild what I didn't break. My name is Daniel. I used to be a husband. Now, I'm just a man learning how to be alone again. And this is the end of us.